Right, good afternoon everyone. You're here today to watch us do a check flight video in accordance with the BMAA check flight schedule. So you're flying with me, I'm Rob Grimwood from Exodus Airsports, and in the back we've got John Waite that's going to help me today to record some of the data. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the engine started up, so we'll run through some checks. So I am nice and secure, so my helmet is done up and my harness is done up. You secure in the back, John? Helmet and harness?
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm putting my foot on the brake, so we're all secure. Throttle and choke, so it shouldn't need any choke because the engine's warm and the hand throttle is off and the fuel tap is on. Area, so we're clear in front, we're pointing in a nice safe direction if anything goes wrong, and we're having a look behind us to make sure there's nothing behind us that we're going to blow away. So, and then we'll turn the master switch on and we'll turn both the magnetos on, and then we're going to shout clear prop. Clear prop! And then we'll start the engine. Okay, lovely. So as soon as the engine's started, first thing I check for is that we've got oil pressure. So the oil pressure's settled out just below 4 bar. Rev counter is working, and my voltage indicator is on green, so I know we're charging. And equally, if it was on red at this point, it might show that we've got a huge current draw. Maybe the starter motor is stuck in, which I've had a few times over the years. So all looks good there. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to taxi forwards to our sort of holding point for doing our checks. So good look around, and forwards we gently go. So we're flying from Plaistows today. It's pretty wet and muddy, I'm afraid, but a beautiful day for doing some check flying. As we're taxiing, we can first of all check that the steering. So I'm going to turn round to the left on full lock. That's working nicely. Then I'm going to turn round to the right on full lock. As we're turning, we're checking that the compass is rotating and the symmetry of the turning circle seems good. And as we carry on taxiing forwards, I'm just going to apply the brakes, make sure the aircraft stops, which it does. And then I'm going to continue forwards and turn the aircraft round so that we're pointing into wind to then do our pre-takeoff checks. Okay, so looking at the windsock, I would have said that's about into wind there. And the compass is showing 190 degrees, and I know that's runway 15, so sort of 40 degrees across it is about right. Okay, great. So what we're going to do now then is we're going to run through our pre-takeoff checks. So the mnemonic I use is Chief Tab. So C for controls, so checking the controls are moving full and free. Full left wing down, right wing down, and then a final sort of stir around to make sure that everything is good. So controls are good. H is for helmets and harnesses. So once again, I'm just checking that my harness is done up and my helmet. You're all good in the back, John?
I'm good in the back.
Good, and no loose items floating around in the cockpit. I've got my gloves down the front there, but that'll be okay. Okay, so instruments. So starting off with a compass, as I said, about 190 degrees, so we'll note that just in case we do have an engine failure during the flight, we know where the wind is coming from. Fuel, just under half a tank of fuel. Now, today we're flying an Apollo Delta jet. We're still actually doing the certification test flying on it, so although ultimately we should have a max takeoff weight of 500 kilograms, at the moment we're limited due to legality to 472.5, but we've put the right amount of fuel in it so that we are at the maximum takeoff weight, which is what you want to do the check flight at. Okay, so fuel gauge is okay, rev counter about 2,700, which is good. Airspeed indicator 0, VSI 0, altimeter 0, so we want to just put it back onto 0. So the QFE is 1012, so we need to record the QFE and the QNH for the check flight schedule. So QFE 1012, and then QNH should be about 1027, which it is, so we're set for QNH. Need to turn the radio on. and check it's come onto the correct frequency, 129830. Voltage light is green, oil pressure is just under 4 bar, oil temperature is nearly at 50, cylinder head temperature is at about 65. So the instruments are set and serviceable. So engine, so the indications all look good. We'll check the choke is off, which it is, and we'll do a mag check. So we'll do the mag check at 3000 RPM. One off, back on, two off, back on. In both cases there's a slight drop in the RPM, but the engine runs smooth. And I'll close the throttle to check the tick over. And this one ticks over at about 1600 RPM. There we go, 1600. So that's all good. So fuel, just check the fuel tap is on, which it is. And then trim. So this one's got an electrically adjustable hang point, so slightly different to most UK trikes. So I'm looking up at the position of the hang point, and that is set now in the position for takeoff. Area, so there's no one else flying from the airfield today, but I can listen out on the radio and keep a really good lookout as we taxi out some more. And then the final one is we're going to check full power is achieved at our takeoff run. Now, the first piece of information on the check flight form we record is our maximum static RPM. Now, particularly in the mud today, I'll start sliding if I try full power on the ground. So what I will do is, as I start the takeoff run and I've got full power, I'll just glance at my rev counter there and note the max static RPM. And it should be just under 5000 RPM for this aircraft. Okay, so oil temperature's above 50, cylinder head's just below 70, good oil pressure, so we're going to taxi out. Place stage traffic, Golf Alpha 5-1, taxi in for departure on runway 15. Okay. I think I will just put my gloves on. Okay, so having a look, making sure there's no one else coming in to land, checking the other direction, there's no one coming in from there either. So we'll line up. Place stage traffic, Golf Alpha 5-1, lining up for immediate departure, runway 15. Okay, so we'll use all of the runway. Final look that there's no one coming in on the approach. And then we'll get ourselves lined up. Okay, visor down then, John?
Yep.
Okay, so as I said before, we're going to note our static RPM when we apply full power, and if I'm unhappy with how the engine is performing, or if I don't think we're getting full power, I'll just abort the takeoff. Thinking about eventualities, we've got plenty of fields in front of us should the engine stop, and if I'm not off the ground by sort of halfway down the runway, I will abort the takeoff. Alright mate, you all happy?
Yep, happy.
Okay, here we go then. So, let's try full power. Okay, so we're achieving 4,900, so that's good. So moving the bar forwards to rotate, and there we go. Adopting a shallow climb, 5,000 RPM indicated now, and off we go into the climb. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is time our rate of climb. So in this machine, our best rate of climb is achieved at about 65 miles per hour. So I'm just going to adopt 65 miles an hour. There we go. And then I'm going to use John in the back to time it for me. So have you got your stopwatch ready, John?
Yeah, ready.
So we'll time it from 1,200 feet up to 2,200 feet, okay? So get ready, steady, go. Okay, lovely. Having a good look around, and I'm trying to maintain my speed as close as I can at my 65 miles an hour. We're indicating about 1,100 feet per minute on our rate of climb at the moment. It's a tiny bit variable because there's a little bit of movement in the sky. Checking my temperatures as I'm climbing. Oil's up to about 90 now. Everything's looking good. maintaining a good lookout. Okay, so I've got 100 feet to go. So get ready, steady, that's it, John. So what was the time there, please?
58 seconds.
58 seconds, good. So we're achieving just over 1,000 feet per minute, which is roughly what I'd expect. Remember, we're flying at 472.5 kilos, so reasonably heavy. So I'm just going to head myself slightly out to the east. As you can see, we've just climbed above the slight low-level cloud base, so we'll just have to be careful that we don't get too close to the cloud. I'm just going to gently descend to 2,000 feet before starting the next element of the check flight. So just having a good look at my temperatures, keep an eye on the engine, particularly after a long climb there, so it's all settled down nicely and is all reading normally. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing once I'm actually airborne is just thinking about the general trim of the aircraft. You know, what does it feel like? So we're trimmed for about 64 miles an hour at the moment, and if I take my hand off of the control bar, aircraft is flying perfectly straight, so it's got no tendency for it to turn, which is good. So that's telling me that if you like, the roll trim of the aircraft is good. It's got no way of actually adjusting the roll trim in flight, so all I'm doing is making sure the aircraft flies straight. Then I can explore the authority of the actual pitch trimmer. So let's have a look at going on to full slow trim. So just keeping a good lookout. So as I'm slowing it down, you can see the control bar is going forwards and the airspeed is reducing. And on full slow trim, this one will actually trim basically to the control bar on the front strut leg. If I take my hands off, we're doing about 50 miles an hour. So really good trim range on this one. Okay, and still flying nice and straight. Okay, so now if I speed it up, let's have a look at what full fast is. So as I'm trimming it faster, the control bar's coming back. I'm just allowing it to do so, increasing the power, so we basically maintain level flight. So that is full fast trim sort of there, and it should trim out at just over 80 miles an hour, which it is doing. We've got sort of 83, 84 miles an hour. And again, I'm just checking to see that the aircraft flies straight, which it does. Good, so the pitch trimmer is working correctly, and as I would expect. Let's just retrim it for about 70 miles an hour. Nice gentle cruise speed. So what I can do is just have a quick look at the actual pitch stability of the aircraft. So let's just get the trim exactly where I want it at 70. And then what I'm going to do is just speed the aircraft up by pulling the bar back. And as I pull the bar back, nose will go down, airspeed will start increasing, and I'm making sure that as I continue to pull the bar back, there's more force required on the bar. So we're up at about 85, and there's good bar pressure. As I relax on the bar, then the nose will go back up, and the airspeed will reduce and should settle back down to 70 miles an hour, which it has. If I do the same, moving the bar forwards, so I'm pushing the bar forwards, we're slowing down, and the bar pressure is increasing. What we shouldn't have is a reversal in the pressure on the bar. So all of a sudden, if it decided to want to trim at the front strut, that would not be acceptable. And again, as I release the bar pressure, you can see the nose is going down, airspeed is building back up, and we should, once it settles down, be back at our trim speed of 70, which we are. So the pitch stability is good, the roll stability is good, and the operation of the trimmer is working as we'd expect it to. Okay, so the next thing we're going to have a look at doing is going to have a look at doing some turning. I'm just going to descend ever so slightly. So first of all, we're going to start by doing a couple of 30-degree bank turns, just to check how that works. So I'm going to first of all do a turn to the left, so I'm having a good look to the right, good look all around the sky. Remember, if you're flying with someone else, it's useful to ask them to keep a good lookout as well, because you're going to be sort of head down in the cockpit, maybe recording items, looking at the instruments, maybe slightly more than normal. Someone else keeping a lookout is a good plan as well. Okay, so we're going to do a 30-degree bank turn to the left. So here we go. So rolling into the turn, and then moving the control bar forwards to maintain our height. So 30 degrees is about where the wing lift strut intersects the horizon at the leading edge junction, so it's about 30 degrees there, and that all feels good. Slight bar forward required to maintain our height, and the aircraft is neutrally stable in roll, so there's no tendency for it to steepen the turn or indeed shallow the turn. So that all feels good, so I'm going to roll wings level, and then I'm going to roll the aircraft to the right. Good lookout. There we go. So again, that's about our 30-degree bank angle established. Bar slightly forward, and there we are. That's a nice 30-degree turn, and it feels good. So let's just go around in the turn a little bit more, and then the next thing we're going to have a look at doing is we're going to have a look at increasing the bank angle to 60 degrees, which is our maximum bank angle. Now, just a word of caution, not all Flexwings were approved to do 60-degree bank turns, so don't assume you can do 60 degrees. Some of the earlier main air machines were limited to 45, so check the pilot operator's handbook if in any doubt. Okay, so we're going to do a 60-degree bank turn, so we require a pre-manoeuvre check, so I'm going to use the mnemonic Hessel. So height, we're at 2,200 feet, so plenty of height. Ground here is about 400, so we're 1,800 or so above the ground. Security, so my helmet, my harness is all done up. You all happy in the back, John?
I'm happy in the back.
Engine, so temperatures, pressures, all good. Fuel is good. Location, so just to the north of Hatfield here. Over a reasonably clear area. I'm just going to do a clearing turn, so I'm going to do another 30-degree bank turn just to absolutely check that there's no one else in our vicinity. It works the other way as well, because if another aeroplane sees that we're turning, they're far more likely to stay out of our way. Can you see anything, John?
Not a thing.
Stunning day for doing a check flight, isn't it?
That's brilliant.
Remember, you do want a nice day for doing a check flight. There's no point going up on a real rough, horrid, thermic day, because the data that you're going to get isn't going to be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to do a 60-degree bank turn. We'll do it to the left to start with. Now remember, in a Flexwing, if you're doing a 60-degree bank turn, you should limit your turning circle to 270 degrees. So if I'm turning to the left, I need to pick a reference point out on my right. So I've got the town of St Albans there. Okay, so here we go. So final lookout, and then we're going to roll into the turn. As the bank angle increases, I'm moving the bar forwards and increasing the power. I'll continue to roll to 60 degrees. Just somewhere there. That all feels good. We're nice and level. Speed just over 70. So there's my reference point coming back up. So I'm rolling out of the turn, bar back, and reducing the power. And we come back to to our reference point. Okay, let's do the same to the right. So picking a reference point on my left-hand side. All looks nice and clear. Here we go again. So rolling into the turn, bar forward to maintain the attitude, increasing the power to maintain my airspeed, roll to 60 degrees, which I reckon is there somewhere. We're nice and level, speed is good. There's my reference point, so exiting the turn, rolling the wings level, relaxing the bar back, and reducing the power that I added. Excellent. Okay, so that's the turning done, both at 30 degrees and our maximum bank angle. So the next thing in the check flight we're going to have a look at doing is stalling the aircraft. So we've only got one stall to actually do, which is stalling the aircraft wings level in a glide, so with the throttle closed. And we should be slowing the aircraft down at a rate of 1 mile an hour per second, okay? So it might take a bit of practice, and what you want to do is have a look at the airspeed indicator as you're moving the bar forward, and just practice getting that deceleration rate at 1 mile an hour per second. What you've got to be really careful in the Flexwing of doing is stalling it too aggressively, i.e. by really shoving the bar forwards quickly and entering the stall with a high deceleration rate, because ultimately in a flex wing you risk tumbling the aircraft, which would be catastrophic, so be careful of that. Okay, so we're still okay on our hassle check, but we will have a good look around, and a good look around below us, because that's where we're going. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to enter the glide, so bar back, closing the throttle, and there she is in the glide. Okay, so gently moving the bar forwards, looking at my airspeed indicator, trying to get that speed reduction at about 1 mile an hour per second. Keep pushing the bar forward, so there's an increase in bar pressure. Keep pushing the bar forwards. More bar pressure, a little bit of buffet now. There's the stall, 44 miles an hour, so recovery's bar back. Allow the speed to build up and just raise the nose back to the glide attitude. So that was a pitch-only recovery. We will have a look at doing another stall, but this time a standard stall recovery. So that's going to be, the recovery is going to be bar back and full power, and then raise the nose into the climb once we've built the speed up, and that achieves our minimum height loss recovery. Okay, so let's do that again. So gently moving the bar forwards, looking at the airspeed indicator, keep moving the bar forwards. A little bit of buffet, there's the stall there, so bar back and full power, got good airspeed, so positively raising the nose, don't over raise the nose, just want to adopt a nice shallow climb, and then regain the altitude that we've lost. And again, we've got a stall speed there of 44 miles an hour, and this aircraft gives you a little bit of a buffet. You can just feel the bar shaking a little bit, at 2 mile an hour or so before. Occasionally it has a slight tendency to just have a wing drop, maybe 5 to 10 degrees left or right, but on that occasion it didn't. So that is behaving exactly as type. And remember, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to show that the aircraft is behaving how it should be, so it's flying normally. Okay, great. So last thing we've got to do in the check flight is have a look at flying the aircraft at VNE. So let's just turn ourselves around a little bit. We will just do another hassle check. So height, the height is still 2,000 feet, it's got plenty of height. Security, my helmet, my harness are still done up. You good in the back, John?
Good in the back, yeah.
Engine, still oil temperature's about 80, cylinder head at 80, 3.5 bar of oil pressure, still got good fuel, so that's all okay. Location, got Hatfield just in front of us there, and I'm actually doing a turn already, so I'm having a good look around. What we'll just continue turning until we're turning out of the sun. So what are we looking for at VNE? Well, first of all, we must make sure we know the speed. So let's say that our VNE is 110 miles per hour, for instance. So as we increase our airspeed towards VNE, again, it's required that the bar continues to come back and back and back with the increase in airspeed, and that the force on the bar increases. There should be no sudden change in bar pressure. So for instance, if you're nearly a VNE and all of a sudden the bar is naturally trimming sort of fully back, then the pitch stability is not acceptable. Okay, and equally we're going to just build up our airspeed incrementally up towards VNE. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the aircraft fully fast, so that will reduce the bar pressure. Okay, and then I'm just going to have a go at increasing my airspeed in level flight and just feel what the aircraft looks like. So increasing the power, pulling the bar back, so that's 90 miles an hour. 92. I'm going to look at the wing, making sure there's no buffeting on the wing. That all looks good. There's no sudden tendency for the aircraft to want to turn, no excessive vibration, and that's, if I take it up, I should be able to get 100 miles an hour. Yeah, there we go. 101, 102 miles an hour. That all feels good. Okay, so let's just slow ourselves down. So the next thing I'm going to do now is actually go for attempting to get to the VNE, and the way I'm going to do that, rather than trying to do it in level flight, I'm going to do it in a slight dive, okay, but not an excessively nose down dive. So I'm just going to gently raise the nose to slow the aircraft down, and then before we store, I'm then going to pitch the nose down and then apply full power, okay. So here we go. So I'm just raising the nose to slow the aircraft down a little bit. And then just before we get to the stall, I'm lowering the nose, not too nose down, applying full power. So 90, 100 miles an hour, 107, 9, 10. Good. So that all feels good. Allowing the nose to come up, no buffeting, no flutter, and then just recovering back to straight and level. So that all felt good. What you've got to be careful though is that you don't exceed the VNE of the aircraft, so just accelerate gently up to the point of the VNE. It's always worth trying to get to VNE at a high power setting, so rather than being in a ridiculously nose down dive, just go a little bit nose down but at full power, because then if you do have a problem, for instance if the aircraft did start fluttering, which I have had on a Flexwing before, then you can close the throttle, which will start slowing the aircraft down, rather than if you're ridiculously nose down, you've then got to try and raise the nose, so it's always easier to reduce the power. Okay, fantastic. So that basically concludes all of the tests that we have to do in the aircraft. The final thing, I'm just having another good look to make sure that everything is working as it should do. So fuel gauge is still working, rev counter's good, all the flight instruments are working correctly, all the temperature gauges are working correctly, compass is good, radio appears to be working. What I can do if I like is get a radio check from someone once I'm on the ground, because there's no one else up here today. Okay, so we'll make our way home. Okay, so we're now approaching Playstation, so what we'll do is we'll make a radio call. Playstation traffic, Golf Alpha 5-1 is rejoining from the southeast. Okay, so then what we'll do is we'll go back on to 1012 for our QFE. Okay, and then we're at 1500 feet, which is the height we want to rejoin at. Having a good look around for any other aircraft. So the airfield is just in front of us, got about a mile to run. As we know, there's a gentle southerly wind, so I think we'll still land on runway 15. I can see by the smoke in the distance that it is still favouring 15. We're just approaching the overhead, so I'm going to descend now on the dead side. Playstation traffic, Golf Alpha 5-1 is descending dead side for runway 15. Okay. So we're going to descend down to our circuit height of 800 feet. Keeping a good lookout for any other aircraft. Can't see any other aircraft on the ground. Looking at the windsock, just a very gentle breeze from the south. Just crossing the upwind end of the runway. Nearly at 800 feet. Okay, so we'll level off there. Having a good look, making sure there's no one trying to join the circuit on the downwind leg. All looks nice and clear, so we'll turn downwind. Playstation traffic, Golf Alpha 5-1, downwind, right hand, runway 15. at the runway to make sure we're flying parallel to it. So that all looks good. Okay, we'll do some downwind checks. So unsecure, helmet and harness, you're nice and secure in the back.
Secure the back.
So temperatures and pressures all look good. Plenty of fuel for a go around. Hand throttle is definitely off. Nose wheel straight and foot is off the brake. Okay, keeping a good look around for any other aircraft. Looking good. Okay, so thinking about turning onto base leg. So gently come round. Just going to close the throttle for the moment. Just going to retrim the aircraft a little bit slower for the landing. So I'm just retrimming it for about 60 miles an hour airspeed. Okay. Looking at the airfield, checking there's no one joining on long final, and then trying to judge my turn so that I come out of my turn on the runway centre line. Okay, round we go. Place those traffic, Golf Alpha 5-1, final, runway 15. Okay. So there's a slight crosswind, so we're just holding just a tiny little bit of a drift angle. Looking good. It will be a relatively low approach because the runway is downhill. That's all looking about right. So final check, nose wheel is straight, foot is off the brake. Monitoring my airspeed. It's all looking good. Gently down. There we go. And then bar back, gently applying the brakes until we come to a stop. Keeping a good lookout as we're backtracking, make sure there's no one else coming in to land. Okay, so we'll stop ourselves here, just take my gloves off, and then what I like to do at the end of the flight is just check that the mags, make sure nothing failed during the flight. So mag 1, back on, mag 2, back on, both appear good. Tick over is still nice. I'll turn the radio off, and we'll turn both the mags off, and finally turn the master switch off. And then we'll just secure the wing before leaving the aircraft. Great, well I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much.